There were a lot of deals out there for Alex Caruso, but the Chicago Bulls elected to go ahead and ship him off to OKC for Josh Giddey, the true point guard. In today's video, we're going to be talking about why the Chicago Bulls made this deal and why this actually might be a good fit if the Chicago Bulls continue to build properly around him. This is Rico Greenhowe, and this is another episode of Bulls Digest. Before we jump into it, want to let you know that 75.9% of you guys that watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest news and happenings around your Chicago Bulls. And without further ado, guys, let's jump into the topic of the day here, which is the reason the Bulls traded for Giddey. All right, guys, and so look, we are getting Josh Giddey, a true point guard from OKC. He's been pretty good in the league thus far. I think that he did take a back seat to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who personally I thought was an MVP for sure with the way he played, the way he helped elevate OKC this year. But look, there are a lot of reasons why the Chicago Bulls got this guy, and it's interesting that the Chicago Bulls had so many offers for Alex Caruso, including some that were reported that could have got us a top 10 pick. I know a lot of us are cringing at that, but I mean, this is not the worst case scenario in getting Josh Giddey over here. Let's start with what Shams had to say in Bulls Central, which I think is absolutely funny to me. But he says the Chicago Bulls love Josh Giddey as a player. I mean, duh, right? Like, they went ahead and they absolutely traded for him. So obviously, one, they do love him as a player. And I think that more so what you're going to see, I think, with what Woj had to say is that, and I've said this before, for the first time, the Chicago Bulls are being a proactive team and they're not being a reactive team. I've talked about how I love Alex Caruso. I've talked about how I would love for him to mentor the young guys. I've talked about how he's had a championship ring and he brings that type of experience to the locker room. Wouldn't want to just lose him like this. But with him getting older, with him coming off the best season of his career and a lot of different statistics, guys, I think that the Chicago Bulls felt that it was probably the highest time to go ahead and move on from him because, look, Alex Caruso, the way he plays so hard. I give him credit. He actually goes out there and injures himself playing so hard, guys. And so there is a chance that we may not get this same type of trade value from Alex Caruso down the line. And I think that this is part of reshaping the roster for the Chicago Bulls. And as much as it stings, guys, we would have had to give Alex Caruso a major extension. I think he was owed like close to like $80 million for 4 years. And I love Alex Caruso. I absolutely love him. But I'm just not sure that he would have been able to be at that value, down the line with the way he plays. But again, kudos to him. But I like what the Chicago Bulls are trying to build here, and I like that they're going and they're becoming a lot more proactive. I think that they just went ahead and they've given themselves an insurance policy on a bad contract for Caruso, but they gave themselves a insurance policy on Lonzo Ball, guys. And I think that that is one thing that Woj brought up here. He said that the Bulls had been determined to find a playmaker capable of replacing Lonzo Ball. We'll say that again, capable of replacing Lonzo Ball. So it looks like they've always had the mind to go ahead and replace Lonzo Ball. And there's optimism that Giddey, who's still just 21, he'll have a better path to realizing his true potential now that he is not giving up, a lot of ball handling duties to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think that Woj is right on here. All right. And I think that this goes into what I've been saying about Lonzo Ball. I know I've been getting a lot of pushback in the comments and things like that, but I've been saying, look, we have to get some type of insurance policy for Lonzo Ball. I didn't think that, banking on him coming back at his full potential was going to work. I know some people are like, well, he's going to be able to come back 80%. Maybe or maybe not. I mean, with what he was talking about, the details of this knee injury, it sounds pretty terrible. All right. Now, I think it is commendable that he is out here and he's dunking and doing all these wonderful things. That's great. He still hasn't gotten to 5-on-5. And it's one thing to play 5-on-5 in a scrimmage. It's another thing to play 5-on-5 in a full-on, full-out basketball game, guys. And so, I mean, that's going to be different considering that this guy has sat out for so long. I just don't know if Lonzo Ball is going to be the same. And since he's already picked up his contract, that means that Chicago is either one, going to have to go out and they're going to have to buy this guy out, or they're going to have to do what I think is Will Godlet said in the CHGO podcast quite some time ago. They're going to have to do a waive and stretch, which means I think that they would stretch it for 3 years, but they'd have to pay him roughly around like $12 million or something like that, I think. So, I mean, they could do something like that. But I love the fact that they are going out here being proactive and they've gotten a replacement for Lonzo Ball. And I think that this most certainly means that Lonzo Ball would essentially start off coming off the bench if they don't get rid of him before the season starts. That's a real possibility. And I think that you're going to see now that they're going to give Giddey the true point guard position, which means that Coby White is going to have to play a bit off the ball, and which I think he's going to be fine doing so, like between the two, because look, Giddey has already played with a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Coby White and him can have that same dynamic. Obviously, Coby White is not there yet. He may never get there, but he is a very good player in his own right, and I think that he has no problem going back and forth with Giddey with this point guard position. I think that they're both going to excel, and I think that this is going to help Dosunmu, even though I think it's tough because he's probably going to have to come off the bench. But I like the direction that the Chicago Bulls are going with here, because Giddey, in my opinion, and I certainly agree, I think he's probably one of the better passers in the NBA. And I've compared him much to like a Rick Rubio type of player, but he has a bit more shooting ability than Rick Rubio as far as shooting from downtown to 3-point percentage and everything else. He's more comfortable shooting that. He will shoot the mid-range too. He has a series of floaters and things like that in his bag that he can go through. So I love that about Giddey. Furthermore, as we look here, I like what this author here from The Athletic is talking about, with this acquisition with Giddey. And it just, again, it's kind of driving home the point of what Woj was talking about, that look, they're looking to go ahead and buy out Lonzo. I think that this is pretty much it. They're either going to go ahead and buy him out or they're going to waive him. But I like the fact that we get another opinion, and you're getting two writers that are essentially saying the same thing, guys. So I think that this is the end for Lonzo. But even though that we've got Giddey, all right, and I brought this up initially when the trade happened, now Chicago has got to build around Giddey in order for him to be successful, guys. I mean, we can't just say, okay, Giddey, you're here and we're just going to expect you to shoot a whole bunch of three-pointers. First of all, I think between Dosunmu and Coby White, those are the only guys that hit like maybe 100 threes or something like that. I don't know. I forget what that statistic is, but those were the guys that were really out there shooting the basketball at a high clip, all right? And Giddey, he's grown to be a pretty good three-point shooter. I mean, he's at 34% at this point in time. A lot of low volume at this point in time, guys, and it's a small sample size, okay? And he did technically take a little bit of a dip, guys. I mean, when you look at this, so bringing back up his statistics, he started off at 12.5 points per game. He went up to 16.6 points in that year two. And I love the fact that the assist numbers were right around 6 assists a game. But look at what happened to him in year three. Points decline, but he is still right around 4 assists a game, guys. He is a guy that will get on the rebounds as well. I love the fact that he's getting at least 5 to 6 rebounds a game. So that's a great sign for us. Talked about the 3-point percentage. Look, he went from 26% up to 33%. So that's steadily rising in year 3. You love that. And then also to look at the dependability, guys. He went from 54 games in year 1 up to 80 games in year 3. You have to love that about Giddey, because we have had situations where we have had players injured. So to make Giddey successful, guys, we have to go out here, and if we're going to make a deal with the Philadelphia 76ers, which I've talked about, we need to get guys like Kelly Oubre Jr. over here. Guys who can not only defend, but they can also run with Giddey, fill the lane, but they can shoot the 3 as well, because once Giddey gets 2 feet in the paint, somebody has got to be there for the kick out, guys. And also, too, this will give the Chicago Bulls a path now to shore up the front court, to where Giddey can have some weapons that he can utilize in the front court. I've talked about a deal where it looks like Utah is being the most aggressive right now in a Lavine deal. That could net us a guy like John Collins coming over here. He's been successful with a guy like Trae Young. He's getting a guy that's a bit more patient in Josh Giddey. He'll also stretch the floor. He'll run with Giddey. I think that that's going to make our offense super, super fun to watch. So I like that. I love the fact that if we bring a guy like Clarkson over here as well, he'll be filling the lane to knock down some jumpers and stuff like that too. That's going to help us as far as stretching. And I think that we need to go after a center. We have to go after a legit big. And I think the best big to pair him with, like I said, now that I look at the centers, the guy that really stands out to me a lot is Khalil Ware. I love Khalil Ware. I think that he would be excellent to go along with Edey. Just bringing him up, guys. Look at these highlights again where he's just slamming. He's running the transition, guys. He's dunking off tips. The backdoor lobs, the finishes. Like, I think that Giddey would be a terrific running mate. Look at that. That is perfect examples of what Giddey could get with a guy like Ware. So I think that this is a guy we don't have to necessarily trade up for. I think that this helps build out the roster to where we can get Giddey to be successful. We're going to get an offense that is going to be a bit faster now. And I think we just have to continue to just put those pieces around Kobe White and Giddey here, and also to Dosunmu, and continue to build out these guys. And I think that, over time, we're going to have something here. But this is a good starting point for the Chicago Bulls as we're moving in the right direction. So with that being said, guys, kind of rambling on this one, but do you guys think that Giddey was a great acquisition for the Chicago Bulls? Do you think that this is going to help our offense as far as getting us easier baskets in transitions and things like that? Do you feel like this is not going to work? Do you feel like, ultimately speaking, Giddey is not going to be a great piece because Chicago is not going to build properly around him? Do you guys still want to see Lonzo Ball on this roster? Do you think that the Chicago Bulls are going to move on, or are they going to say, hey, you're now going to be that Sean Livingston type of player? I've said that before. There is a path for Lonzo Ball to possibly be like Sean Livingston that played for Golden State. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Even though we have a bunch of guards and we have no clue what we're going to do, and we still haven't addressed our front court, I'm still saying go Bulls, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.